to true crime with strategic eyes.
Strategic back again. Oh, I just got home from work, ladies and gentlemen, and you amazing folks were hitting me up inside of my email saying, Jake Haro pled guilty, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Jake Haro pled guilty. Now, people are saying, why am I playing that yay sound? Because we want to go to trial. We always want to go to trial, right? We always want to prove that these guys are guilty in a court of law. The reason why I'm saying yay now for this particular case is because Jake Haro just spared us a whole lot of heartache. Why? Because that was not the easiest case, ladies and gentlemen. It was not the easiest case. They didn't find a body, ladies and gentlemen. They still have not found the remains of Emmanuel Haro. That was going to be a very difficult prosecution, and Jake Haro just pled guilty to everything. He did not take a plea bargain. He did not take a deal. He literally stood up like the man he should have been when that child was alive. And he took responsibility for what he did. The most notable thing is I haven't read the article yet. We are literally reacting to this in real time. But my understanding is that he admitted to doing everything. He said that he was the one that took Emmanuel Haro's life. Now, before we read this news articles, I got two articles for you guys. This is breaking news. It just came out a couple minutes ago, at least to me, to my knowledge. I'm going to play a little bit of Law and Crime. Law and Crime is going to give us a little update on this whole ordeal. And then we're going to go in and we're going to read some of these articles, kind of figure out the details of it. We're going to also reach out to the to the California court system like we did before. And we're going to try and get some of these court documents so we could give you guys some details, etc. But this is great news, ladies and gentlemen. This is amazing news in the fight for justice for Emmanuel Haro. What I have heard, and we'll probably get more details of that from these different sources we're going to be exploring, is that the mother still maintains her innocence. Mommy still maintains her innocence, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to it.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. We have breaking news out of California in the case of baby Emmanuel Haro. You'll remember that he went missing August 14th, and his parents initially said they didn't know anything about what happened to their child, that their child had been kidnapped by someone. Ultimately, on September 4th, they were arrested and charged with murder, and we're now getting multiple reports that confirm that the father of the missing 7-month-old has pleaded guilty to all charges, including second-degree murder. Jake Haro entered that guilty plea during what was scheduled as a felony settlement conference there inside the courtroom. That often happens in a case before it goes to trial. Reporters in the courtroom say Haro was visibly emotional, crying as he admitted to killing his infant son.
Wow.
Emmanuel's remains have not been located. Jake Haro's sentencing is scheduled for November 3rd. His wife, Rebecca Haro, who also faces murder charges in connection to the case, she continues to plead not guilty. According to what we know on the record, her felony settlement conference, similar to this one, has been scheduled for October 28th. Court TV will continue to follow this story and bring you all of the latest right here.
All right, so just
good day, Crime Talk aficionados. I hope you're having.
Sorry, I don't know where that came from, but just for people who are just joining us on the story, I want to go ahead and just play a way back when this first happened video very quickly, just to bring you guys up to speed. Somebody in the chat said, I think it was Mike Jones, says, well, did he plead guilty to escape capital punishment? He was never facing capital punishment, to my understanding, and California does not execute people. I think they still have it on the books, but there's been a moratorium for a couple of decades now. So even if he was convicted of a capital crime, he would never, ever, ever face the consequences of that conviction. I think he did it because of guilt. You know, so often we deal with these monsters, with these predators, with these bad people. We think that none of them are capable of having remorse. I don't know Jake Haro. I know Jake Haro has a history of doing horrible things to his children, but I do believe that this one hit him harder than ever before. I think guilt is what made this man plead guilty. Let me give you guys his backstory real quick, and then we'll go to the articles.
1 week after little Emmanuel Haro disappeared in Yucaipa, San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputies arrested his parents today for his murder. A Cabazon residents holding a vigil in honor of the 7-month-old boy presumed dead tonight.
And as KCAL's Nicole Comstock reports, investigators continue the search for his body.
Still haven't
Many
located
people
it.
who've been watching this story unfold tell us they had a gut feeling from the very beginning that something very bad happened to this little boy and that maybe his parents had something to do with it. And so there are a lot of people who are very invested in Emmanuel's story. Dozens came out here tonight to hold a candlelight vigil for him near the home where earlier today both of his parents were arrested for murder.
I don't know what people get in their head just to hurt the baby. Like, it's just so sad.
Tears from strangers for a baby they never even knew. Tonight, community members organized a candlelight vigil at the home of 7-month-old Emmanuel Haro, who investigators now say was murdered by his own parents.
I had 2 miscarriages. When I had those, it broke my heart. So to see that somebody was able to hurt this little boy, it's not okay.
Earlier this morning, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department showed up at the home in Cabazon with an armored vehicle to arrest Emmanuel's parents, Jake and Rebecca Haro. This after a week-long investigation into their claim that Rebecca was knocked unconscious before their baby was kidnapped during a diaper change in a Yucaipa parking lot last week. Investigators now say they have evidence proving that alleged kidnapping did not occur and that baby Emmanuel is likely dead. Moving forward, they're focused on finding his remains.
Bring him back, please.
Within days of the kidnapping story, investigators publicly announced there were inconsistencies in Rebecca's statements.
It made my heart drop because then it's like, okay, now it's completely off of what was said, what really happened.
And many who watched the couple's initial media interviews say they didn't ring true.
I didn't really believe it. Just from the get-go, the mom, just you could tell.
How Rebecca said she couldn't turn around to see what the kidnapper looked like, but was somehow punched in her eye.
Yep.
How she sounded like she was hyperventilating on camera.
That's right.
I got up off the floor and I didn't see my child. Someone took him from me.
But many noticed there were no tears.
Right.
Yeah, those were crocodile tears.
The Haros also said their baby was always happy and smiling, but many think the photos they shared in an attempt to find him didn't reflect that. As people all around the world mourn the loss of this innocent.
And let's be honest, he looked like he was gone. He looked like he was gone in all these photos. I told you guys that it was my belief that he was deceased in this photo. He looked deceased. Now, am I right? I don't know. I'm just telling you my opinion, my theory. He looked like he was deceased in this photo. The lips are black. He's not moving. He's staring off into the distance. It looks like there's no life in his eyes. He's laid and strawn out like that. Kids are usually moving. They're usually bending those limbs. He's just laid out, splayed out with no life in his eyes. It's very sad stuff.
Infant.
Also, he looked just like his sister looks. And his sister, his older sister, who is now, I think Promise Faith is her name now. Promise Faith, with all the disability she has as a result of what her father did to her when she was not too much older than him, they look similar, as though they both experienced the same abuse. So just a lot of red flags that existed early on in this case.
Those gathering here are praying that justice is served.
I love that everybody's here and able to be his voice because he don't have one.
Court records indicate that both of the Haros have been booked into the Riverside County Jail for murder with malice with no bail, and they are scheduled to appear in court for the first time on Tuesday. Another thing, we reported earlier this week that the baby's father, Jake, was previously convicted of willful cruelty against a child for a different case involving another one of his children. And while his attorney says he did his time for that, he completed parenting classes, and he believes he was a changed man, many people out here say they think the system failed Emmanuel and should have done much
1,000%.
more to keep Jake.
1,000% the system failed Emmanuel. 1,000%, ladies and gentlemen. He should have never been allowed to have children ever again. And I'm not talking about some type of chemical castration, something like that. No, I'm saying that in many states like New York and other states, I don't know what California is doing. I don't know what's happening out there. They may or may not do this, but when you are convicted of such a heinous crime that he was convicted of, that he basically inflicted against promised faith, if you have more children, you automatically lose your parental rights. So it's a deterrence for people to make kids. Because if you end up doing the right thing, strapping up, using birth control, because especially if you're a woman, you carry that child to term 9 months. You think that you've changed your life. You really love this baby. You can't wait for this baby to come out of you. And as soon as the baby come out, there's a social services worker there who's going to take that baby as soon as that baby comes out of you, and you'll never see the baby again. They don't even allow you to hold the child after giving birth. It's done. It's over. They confiscate the baby like it was a piece of merchandise, and off the baby goes. And understand that they are adopted very quickly. Like if you put a 4, a 6, well, not a 4, but you put like a 7, 8, 10, 13-year-old in the system, in many instances, they will not be adopted, and they'll have to spend the rest of their life in the system, or the rest of their childhood rather, in the system until they turn 18 or 21. In New York, you can stay in the system up to the age 21, and then you gotta go. But when you have 4 and under to infants, they are adopted very quickly. So you never see the baby again, and then somebody else adopts it and changes the name, and everything's confidential, and you never can find your progeny again. That's what they should have did to him. He should have lost all his custody rights to every single human being that he brought into the world after what he did to Promise Faith. They didn't do that. He just went off into the wind. No supervision, no nothing. Nobody cares. Convicted of such terrible crimes against vulnerable people, and parole officers don't care, probation officers don't care, the courts don't care, nobody cares. Back and forth to court with the previous baby mama, nobody cares. No nothing. Done. Go do your thing. It's horrible. The system failed them. The system 1000% failed them. And what do we got now to show for it? Baby Haro.
We have some breaking news just
We don't even know where his body's at. We haven't even found his body.
coming in. The father of missing 7-month-old Emmanuel Haro has just pleaded guilty in court. Jake Haro has pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, assault causing bodily harm to a child, and filing a false report. Jake and his wife Rebecca Haro also claimed baby Emmanuel was kidnapped from a parking lot in Yucaipa back in August. Investigators believe Emmanuel died from long-term child abuse by his parents. His remains have yet to be found. Inland Empire reporter Leticia Juarez is inside the courthouse in Riverside and is following the latest developments in this case. We will bring you more throughout the day on ABC7.com and on Eyewitness News this afternoon.
All right, so if he's pleading guilty to everything, he might be doing it for two reasons. One, he might be doing it to protect the mother, or he might be doing it because, you know, he's very sad for what he did. He might have some guilt issues. But I find it peculiar that the mother is still pleading not guilty. Of course, she needs time. She might change her tune too. Very early on, Jake Haro was cooperating with law enforcement. It's possible that Jake Haro could be used as a cooperating witness against the wife. It's possible. Rebecca's in a really tight spot right now. The good thing is that Jake Haro pleaded guilty to the charges. He did not strike a plea deal with the defense, with the prosecution, which then would have most likely, if they accepted a plea deal and they offered him a plea deal, would have probably had a stipulation that he'd have to testify against Rebecca Haro if they believed that she was the actual person who took Emmanuel's life. I don't know. I have no clue what the prosecution believes actually happened in that household and who they believe is the true culprit in this case, because they charged them both the same thing. Since he pleaded guilty to all the charges as is, there's no deal, which means that he has no incentive to testify against Rebecca Haro. But Rebecca still is in a tough spot because she don't know if he might just cooperate against her just for the hell of it. Or what? We don't know. We have no idea. We have no idea. I think Rebecca Haro probably did not participate in the unaliving of Emmanuel, but she did not stop it. And I think what she's going to do, if she doesn't plead guilty, which I don't think she is, for some reason, I just get the feeling that Rebecca wants to go to trial. Think about it. She pleads guilty. She does life in prison. No capital punishment in California because they have a moratorium. She goes to trial. Maybe she gets convicted on a lesser charge. Maybe she blames everything on the convicted monster, twice convicted monster, twice convicted monster for crimes against vulnerable people. Maybe she uses that as a part of her defense now. It wasn't me. You know, like Shaggy. It wasn't me. I was an abused woman. He was the controlling, abusive husband. He threatened me. He said he would end me. He did that to the baby without me knowing. Remember, I totally believe, I still believe that the first, what was it, Vanessa? The first wife? I think it was Vanessa Haro. Vanessa Haro wasn't there when Jake did the most damage to Promise Faith. Remember, she was at work and then she came home and then she seen the baby acting the way the baby was acting. She was like, oh my God, something's wrong. We got to call 911. It was Vanessa who said, we got to call 911. And then they went to the hospital and everything was determined, She actually was convicted of a lesser charge than Jake. I think the same thing happened in this one. I think it was ongoing abuse. She probably did not participate. She turned a blind eye, but she probably didn't participate in the actual life-ending abuse. She didn't say anything, though. She didn't protect Emmanuel. And then I think that her defense is going to be that she feared for her own life and she feared for the life of her daughter.
Does that make sense?
We keep forgetting that there's another young person that's involved in this story, the daughter, who they said was in good health. He said not only would he end me, but he end my daughter. I think that's going to be her defense.
Does that make sense?
You don't believe that he would abuse me? Look at my eye. Remember that? Look at all of these interviews she did. Look at her. Look at this.
I fell on the floor and I said,
look at her face.
I got up. I couldn't find my son.
A 7-month-old.
Look at it again. Come on.
I fell on the
Look at the shine on her face. Look at her face. He abused me. He did that. This actually works towards her defense. He did that. Not only did he hurt Emmanuel, he hurt me too. And not only did he hurt Emmanuel and hurt me, as you could clearly see in all these news stories that were broadcasted all over the world and was featured on True Crime with Strategic. Not only that, but he also threatened to hurt my daughter. So I stayed silent because I didn't want him to do to my daughter what he did to Emmanuel, what he did to Promise Faith. You guys know he's capable of that. He did it to Promise Faith. Now he just pled guilty in court to doing it to Emmanuel Haro. He said he was going to do it to my daughter. He said he was going to do it to me. She is going to use battered woman syndrome as her defense against these murder charges. You heard it here on True Crime Strategic. That's my theory. That's how I think this is going to go down. Let's get to reading. The father of missing baby Emmanuel Haro has pleaded guilty to murder in Riverside County. Jake Haro pleaded guilty to second-degree murder in the ending of Emmanuel Haro, several weeks after the boy's parents falsely reported him missing in Riverside County. Haro appeared in a Riverside courtroom on Thursday, where he changed his plea from not guilty to guilty. He also pleaded guilty to filing a false police report, assault of a young person under the number 8, according to Riverside County District Attorney's Office. And I'm going to read it a little bit bad, people. I have to do that because we've had some serious monetization issues with YouTube. They're coming down on the channel very hard. Go check out my, we call them what, posts? They're not stories, they're posts. Check out my YouTube posts, and I show the screenshots of all of our recent videos not being monetized. So please do understand why I have to change words around in order not to trigger the YouTube gods. Let's keep going. Rebecca Haro pleaded not guilty to murder and remains in custody. She is scheduled to appear in court November 3rd for her preliminary hearing. Jake Haro is scheduled to be sentenced at the same hearing. Sentenced at the same hearing. So she's going to hear the time that he's facing. When she hears in that preliminary hearing that he's probably going to get what somebody said in the chat, what, 50 to life, possibly? When he probably gets life in prison, it's going to definitely encourage her and motivate her to fight this to trial. I'm telling you guys, she's not pleading guilty. Listen, I don't know. This is just my theory. If she pleads guilty, it is what it is. I'm telling you my theory. I could certainly 100% be wrong, but I think she's going to fight this. I think she's going to use battered woman syndrome as her defense. She's also going to use her surviving daughter as her defense. That's going to be her shield, the daughter and battered woman syndrome. Let's keep going. Haro, 32, was arrested with Emmanuel's mother, Rebecca, 41, in connection with the boy's unaliving in August. Initially, they claimed he was kidnapped after an assailant attacked Rebecca Haro. According to San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, Rebecca Haro said she was attacked in a Yucaipa parking lot August 14 outside a Big Five store while changing Emmanuel's diaper. But investigators said there was inconsistencies in her initial statement. And when they confronted her about those details, they said she stopped cooperating, ladies and gentlemen. Authorities arrested the parents of their Cabazon home a week after they reported their son missing. In the first weeks of the investigation, search teams scoured an isolated field in Moreno Valley. They were accompanied by Jake Haro, who wore a jail jumpsuit. Authorities did not find the boy. Officials said the infant's remains have not been located. That's where we at with that. Oh, it has some more. As the search for Emmanuel was underway, focus shifted from Rebecca to both parents after it became to light that Jake Haro had a previous conviction for young people abuse. In 2018, Jake Haro and his then wife was interviewed by Hammock police officers after their baby was examined at a local hospital. According to police affidavits seeking an arrest warrant, the unidentified girl had a skull fracture, several healing fractures of her ribs, a whole bunch of stuff I don't want to read into the record, the YouTube record, because it's just going to trigger the YouTube gods. A doctor who examined the young person told police that the girl had a lot of injuries that was attributed to abuse. Jake Haro told police that he accidentally dropped the baby into a center divider in their kitchen sink while giving her a bath. How does that happen? God knows. But the doctor said the injuries did not fit that narrative. The couple blamed each other, according to the officer's affidavit. In 2023, Jake Haro was convicted of felony willful young person endangerment, and his then wife was convicted of misdemeanor willful harm to a young person. When Jake and Rebecca Haro reported Emmanuel missing, Riverside County authorities followed up and removed a 2-year-old young person from the home. Wow. Wow. CBS News. Jake Haro pleaded guilty to second-degree murder on Thursday for the unaliving of Emmanuel Haro, reversing his not guilty plea entered earlier this month. Haro, 32, along with his wife Rebecca Haro, were arrested in August, a little over a week after they claimed Emmanuel was kidnapped. Both have entered not guilty pleas to murder charges at their September 4th Riverside Court arraignment. So there we go. It's basically going to be the same thing. And it is what it is. Both remain in jail on $1 million bail, and Emmanuel's remains have not been located. Wow. Very, very interesting. Unexpected turn of events, ladies and gentlemen. I did not expect for this to have been the outcome today. I did feel that it was possible based off of his history and the evidence that they had, that they basically could not find Emmanuel Haro's remains, but they also were able to prove that the narrative that Jake and Rebecca gave was not the truth. They had enough to move forward with this case, which they were doing, but I didn't know that it would come at this point. Usually these guilty pleas come a little bit later on in the process. But that's what we're working with, guys. I'm so happy to have bringing you guys this update. I could not bring this update to you without the love and support of you guys contacting me via email and giving me these updates. You guys are amazing. You guys are very supportive as we're on this journey. We ask that you please hit that like button and support the channel. We ask that if you have not subscribe to the channel, that you do so now. You subscribe to the channel, you show that love. We're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We can't get there without your support and without your care and without you engaging with the channel. Once again, one last thing, please consider becoming a member. Big shout out to all the members who are watching the show right now. Big shout out to everybody who's a part of the Patreon. I'm going to say this one more time. I'll say it a few times because I want to make sure that you guys get the most value for your dollar. Before I was going to do this live, I was actually going to do a Patreon live where we're going to talk about Nova from Soft White Underbelly. I've got a lot to talk about that. That's not going to be on the main show. It's also not going to be for the members. It's going to be for the Patreon only. And then I got this breaking news in my email, and I decided to divert my attention to this story, and I'm still going to do that live a little bit later on today. So we'll be going live on the Patreon later on today to talk about Nova from the Soft White Underbelly YouTube channel. This would be a great time to sign up to the Patreon. Why? Because we are raising the price of the Patreon in the next week to $7. Right now it's $5. Whoever is on the Patreon now as a Patreon supporter, you will stay at $5 so long as you maintain your membership. So if you've been thinking about joining the Patreon, now is the time to do it because you will save money. Anybody who subscribes to the Patreon, come next week after I raise the price, you will have to pay the new price if you want to get that bonus content. So if you want to lock in that lower rate, this is the time to sign up to the Patreon and pay $5 for the rest of your life if you want to subscribe to me for Patreon for that long. Anybody who comes after that, you're going to be paying a higher rate. It is what it is. We're putting a lot of time and effort in building out the Patreon and giving you guys exclusive content, so we have to be compensated for it. So anyway, guys, you guys are amazing. I hope you guys have a great day. We'll definitely be following up to see what happens with Rebecca Haro. Maybe she'll plead guilty. Maybe she won't. Only God knows. But I'll see you guys on the next one. Strategic is out of here. Peace.
Welcome to True Crime with Strategic.